Feeling stuck? Have you temporarily lost your mojo?
Oh, no.
We got you covered.
Yeah, today on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
Welcome to Wandering But Not Lost, your online source for finding balance so that you can align, connect, and prosper. And now your hosts, Jen O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Sorry.
Well, welcome everyone to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where we wander with intention and align with clarity. This is episode 335, and you can find all those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. That's a long, stretchy way of saying WBNL. I don't know what's going on here. But as Jen O'Brien just mentioned,
You can lose your mojo temporarily.
you can lose your mojo temporarily. I had a little mojo loss this week, and this is a great topic for me this week. So let's dive into it. And through the process, I'm going to feel better as well, which is really great. Because here's the thing. Sometimes you feel like you're crushing it, and then bam, life throws you a curveball. And, maybe it's a hectic schedule, unexpected stress, or maybe you're just feeling off, right? So here's the deal. If you've been kicked off track, today's episode is your reset button. We're going to be diving into simple, effective ways to get back on track fast. And we're going to also provide you a little free download guide that's going to be able to kind of walk you through that process as your handy dandy little reference tool to use to get you back on track again. And you know what? Surprisingly, it's not as hard as you might think it might be. So before we even go down this path, let's just kind of acknowledge the fact that we've been off track and maybe doing a little assessment on maybe why you've gotten to where you've gotten. I think that's probably a good way to start. The first step is always awareness. So instead of beating yourself up, just pause and assess. Pause and assess. Because it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole of beating yourself up. I do that frequently, and I know I'm doing it, and I get myself back on track pretty quickly. So just ask yourself, what threw me off? There's always something. Even if you don't know right at the top of your mind, if you give it a little assessment, you will say to yourself, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I feel about it? What's one thing I can do to control that right now? So just ask yourself some questions during your little assessment phase. An example of that is, let's say you're trying to build a great, morning routine. We've talked about morning routines a lot here on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast. But then you got sick for a few days. Sickness is one of the easiest way to sidetrack.
Or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know that very well, Jen, right?
Yeah,
so
I'm off balance on that one, Matthew.
Yeah. So instead of feeling frustrated about it, just acknowledge it. I was doing great, but then my energy took a hit. And now I can ease back into starting it out small. Just ease back into the situation. Like I said, if you are not feeling well, or if your energy is down, it is going to affect everything around you. So that's probably one of the main reasons why. But still do the assessment. Don't just assume that's the situation. Or maybe you plan to work out 3 times a week, but got swamped with work. So instead of thinking I failed, shift it to this week was chaotic, but I can still fit in a 10-minute stretch today, So maybe you didn't do the whole thing, but you can still do part of the thing. Remember, we talked about this a little bit last week. It's not really about perfection. It's about, just actually getting in and doing it, right? So you got to do that. That's super important. The key insight here is not to talk about it as a setback. It's all how you respond to it, right? It's not putting you back for months. I mean, it could, but it shouldn't. It's just a setback so you can move forward, right? So this is what I ask you to do right now if you're listening to the podcast. Take 30 seconds right now to reflect. Just reflect. And what's one thing that knocked you off track recently? You'll probably find something. Jot it down. Just jot it down. Or even better, I know Jan's a jotter. I'm more of a say it out louder. Actually, you do both, but jot it down or say it out loud, because awareness is the first step in this process. All right. So now we're aware of what the situation might have been. For me, I wasn't feeling well, right? And I did recognize that. And I was even telling Jen yesterday, I'm like, you know what? Or day before yesterday, I'm taking a day to reset or to rest. You have to do it. If you know that you're in that situation and you just try to keep go, you're not going to ever probably you'll get better, but it'll take you longer to recover. Mm-hmm. So just if you're aware that you're not feeling well, recuperate. That's kind of important. So we're going to talk about the 5-minute reset plan. This is super easy. All the stuff we do is super easy, right? And I've had a couple comments on YouTube. It's like, well, that was simple. I'm like, yeah, well, simplicity is usually the key to getting things done, right? If it's some hard thing, you're not going to do it. So the whole key is to make it as simple as possible. So momentum starts small. Remember that, the rock rolling down the hill, the snowball rolling down the hill turns into a giant snowball at the end, but it started out, a teeny snowball, a little flake of snow. So start small. You don't have to overhaul everything. Just take one small step. So here's just 3 things. There's 3 different kinds of resets you can do. Do a movement reset. You can just stand up and stretch or just take a short walk. We talk about these 3 things all the time. They totally re-energize your body. They shift your focus from your mindset. So that's a great one. That's the movement reset. The second one is the mind reset. Just do a 30-second gratitude check. I love that one. Just stop, refocus onto what you're grateful for, and that starts to reset you in a very, very positive way, as a matter of fact. And then the last one is an action reset. So pick one tiny step to take right now. So in your process of things you maybe didn't get accomplished because you were out of step or out of alignment, just pick one thing that might help you get back on there, or one thing within your goal for whatever that was to get you restarted again.
Go take a walk. That's mine.
Or any of those things, right? So do all of it at the same time, because you can actually do all 3 of these things at the same time. So that's a good thing. So if you've been avoiding a project, let's say, don't think about finishing it. Just set a 5-minute timer to get started on the project, right? Because you can it's analysis paralysis. We talked about that too. You can worry about planning something forever, but if you just say, you know what? I'm gonna get started on this right now. That can change the whole thing and open up the doors to creativity and new ideas. So that's often all you really need to do to regain your momentum. So let's say if your nutrition slipped, you've been eating junk food really badly. I've kind of been doing that too. You don't have to overhaul everything today. Maybe you still have some chips today, but maybe you take, during your next meal, you eat something really, really healthy, right? So you can slowly start shifting your idea. One of the biggest reasons why diets don't work is because you've just jumped into a whole new thing that your body is really not. That's not what you want to do. That's not what makes you, the exciting things you want to eat, right? Unless you can get used to it, right? I know Jan O'Brien has gone on has changed her dietary plan over the last few months and has been really good about sticking to it. But I guarantee you, Jan, there's got to be days you do a little cheating in there.
Of course.
Okay, there you go. So let's talk about Jan O'Brien. We don't have to talk about your diet plan, but is there a quick fix strategy that you have whenever you're feeling kind of out of sorts and, overwhelmed?
Well, if I stick in the vein of just eating properly, I basically just get refocused back on meal prep. The meal prep part really helps me, and I did it this week, and it just makes it. My challenge always comes down to not having something ready as I cook for myself, and then there's an opportunity to make a bad decision and choose something that's quick and easy as opposed to healthy, because it's going to take me a minute to prepare it. So it's meal prep. When I stay on track with my meal prep, and I use my AI to help me with that, the great recipes, simple things, and I do it, then I just can grab my thing and I'm eating healthy food. So let
me ask you a question about when you're prepping your food, especially if it's something that takes a little bit of time. What is your environment like? Do you listen to music? Do you watch TV?
Yeah, I usually do it on a Sunday. And I just kind of, and almost like anything, like I kind of have to be in the mood, and I have it's all planned, right? So I've got the ingredients, I've got the meal, I might have 2 different recipes I cook, and then I just kind of get into it, and I stay mindful in the moment. It's a great question you're asking, because instead of it looking as a task, I look at it like intentionally creating this healthy food that's going to be good for my body and stuff I enjoy. And anytime I eat that food, I love it so much better, because it's vegetables and it's protein and it's not cheap carbs that give you a little burst of energy, but then it doesn't do anything for you. And I almost feel like my body appreciates it because I take the time to do it. But in the moment, it's having fun. creating? I know you like to cook, so you do the same thing with it.
No, I do exactly the same thing. I listen to instrumental music typically, but I just really enjoy just listening to music and cutting. I'm a chopper. I love cutting vegetables.
You're being mindful and in the moment when you sit and just think about it. It's
interesting. I really look forward to that whenever I get to do that. So when you're listeners out there, try one of these reset strip. I'm having a hard time talking today. So I'm getting myself back on track, but boy, my mouth is not keeping up with my brain. Try one of these reset strategies right now, even if just taking a deep breath. Sometimes that's all it takes. Because remember, small shifts are what create momentum. So let's talk about a personalized reset plan. So we talked about 3 steps you can do just in the moment just to get out of it. But let's talk about something that you can do to really get you focused and on that actual goal that you're trying to achieve, or whatever it is you need to reset from. So simple framework. There's a simple framework to this. Number 1 is define one focus for the next 7 days. Once again, you don't have to go big. Just focus on one thing that you need to accomplish within the next 7 days. It's not, like I said earlier, it's not about perfection. It's about getting the task moving. Number 2.
Matt, are we talking about is this like physically for you personally? It could be anything.
It could be it can literally be anything. Okay. So, I mean, for example, if you're in the middle of a project and for some reason you got thrown off that project, there might be task in there that would be helpful getting you back on track. But if it's just any of the other things we talk about, they're more lifestyle, right? As far as exercise or diet or any of that. So really, this literally does work for anything. So number 2 is choose your first small step, something you can do today. Ooh.
Wow, what's that?
I don't know, but I love that.
Well, whatever. I guess that must have been the truth.
We are happy about that. If you're listening and not watching on YouTube, I don't know what just happened here, but a bunch of balloons just came up around me.
Balloons just went by Matt.
I guess it was happy that I was thinking about taking a small step. I'm not sure.
Oh my God. Do that again.
And then number 3, set a daily check-in time to track your progress. It's so important that you track what you're doing in the situation. I said earlier that I love to say things out loud, and I think that's really important because I love to get these things out into the universe, and I feel like it's a really important thing. But in this situation, if you're really having a problem getting yourself back on track, you really should do a little jotting down of what you've accomplished throughout the day. That'll be very big to help you get on, to stay on your track. So a focus, if your focus is better sleep, for example, your first step could be turning off your screens, maybe 30 minutes or an hour before you actually go to bed. So easy first step there. If your goal is more movement, start with a single 5-minute walk per day instead of aiming for an hour workout. Once again, I've already said it 9 times, going to say it again because it's so important. It can just be the small things. The small things are what change the whole progress. And the goal here, obviously, is progress, not perfection. Small wins create big momentum.
Big Mo.
The big Mo.
To get your mojo back.
Exactly. So here's an example. Let's say you're on your goal is to move more. Your first step might be setting a reminder to stretch every morning, then checking in each night to see if you actually did it and say, did I do that today? It's really that simple. That reflection keeps you accountable. So you're doing a self-accountability here. And you know what? If you're not good at self-accountability, get yourself an accountability partner. Those are usually pretty easy to find too, whether it's a spouse or a friend or your business partner, because we've been very good about that too. We do have a guide that can walk you through this whole process. So you don't have to put together your own plan. We have a little free download. It's going to be called our free guide to whatever we just called it earlier, because my brain's
back on track.
That's it. It's the Get Back on Track guide. So that'll be over there. So if you want a step-by-step reset plan to get back on track, you can grab that download over at wanderingbuttnotlost.com. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second here. But the guide includes a quick self-assessment, a 5-minute reset plan, and the personal game plan and a daily tracker to keep everything on course. So you'll have a place you can write that down. It's a simple little download, but it really is something that, once again, if you have something that you can follow that's in front of you and you can actually look at, you're going to probably be a lot more apt to get with programming and go on, and start using it. So the whole point is here, no more overthinking, just simple steps to help you refocus and move forward. I say, let's, hit play, take action, and let's get back on track together. Obviously, I need to do that too. Let's talk a little bit about that Get Back Guide. It is over on wanderingbutnotlost.com. Up in our top menu, there is a link called Downloads. You just go in there and find the guide, click download, and put your information in, and you will be able to download that PDF right away. It's a writable PDF, so you don't even have to actually physically write your things in there, or you can print it out and write your things, which honestly, just like saying it out loud, writing it down also kind of helps the process. So, Jen O'Brien, do you have any other comments about anyone that's feeling sluggish and how they can reset right now?
No, I honestly feel like the key to, you've been talking a lot about this in your, our podcasts and the videos, the short videos you're doing. These little simple micro movements in 5 or 30-second things are sometimes all you need. I think we overcomplicate things.
I agree.
And it's just so awesome. So grab that guide. I do think we should just throw out here real quick, in case anybody is listening and they're wondering, why do we have 2 websites? Let's just talk about that for a minute. Okay. Can you break that down? You did do a video where you're like, hey, we have these 2, why we're doing 2 podcasts, and wanderingbutnotlost.com versus wbnlcoaching.com. They're part of our brand. They're connected, but they have a different message.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Jen, you actually explained it all right there. We've been working off our WBNL coaching website for the longest time, and we have been doing mostly for the especially the first years. We did a lot of real estate content, and then we've been morphing that real estate content into more business and entrepreneurial content as well. Our mindful stuff, which has always been a part of our gig, just never felt like it fit over there, because if people were going for mindful information and the first thing they saw was real estate, it was confusing. So we decided to get clarity ourselves on that. We had a wanderingbutnotlost.com website that was sitting out there for the longest time that had some travel tips and some things on it. We decided, you know what, let's resurrect that. Let's make that our mindful website where you can go to, get more mindful, learn about movement. We're going to be adding in the future breathing videos, and a lot of things are going to help you.
Basically lifestyle, healthy, conscious living content is really going to sit over there.
So they're both very much connected together. So many times when you're on one site, you're going to actually be on the other. You won't even know you are, but you are going to be. So they're very, very much connected, but we are just trying to separate our content out a little bit to make it a little bit more understandable.
There you go.
Makes sense. And that's why you'll see the all of our good thing. I'm glad. Wait, let's circle back around here.
We're doing 2 podcasts a week. That's
all of our podcasts you'll find on our WBNLpodcast.com page. So every single podcast is going to be on there. Our mindful podcasts are on Wandering But Not Lost on YouTube, and our business podcasts are on WBNL Coaching. Once again, even when you go into those sites, they're linked together, and you can get back and forth.
There you go.
All right. And speaking of podcasts, this was episode 335, and you can get all of that information over on WBNLpodcast.com. Jen O'Brien, anything else?
No. Show notes, downloads. Honestly, we're going to keep putting out a lot of free content, some lower price paid content that's going to be more in depth, because we're very excited about what we're doing on both sides, on the business, the conscious business and side, as well as the mindful wandering side. Because that's just the space we're living in. And so we want to share all the great stuff as we go through our journeys, and how it can maybe help your journey be more fruitful and fun.
I love that. And until next week, wander with intention and align with clarity.
There it is.